Hello everybody, I'm InTheLittleWood, also known as Martin. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a full cam, full episode thing that I haven't done in quite some time. Obviously I used to do things like unboxing videos, or I would do, in the little box. I haven't done that in a couple of years, and this video is in that same kind of style. So I'm going to be holding things up, telling you what they are and where I got them, because basically in the past week I went to Japan. So I went to Japan, Tokyo specifically, and we only did Tokyo for the whole 7 days. Now you might think like, oh well, you can't really do much in Tokyo for a week. You probably saw everything in like the first 2 days. No, like honestly, we did so many different things and went to so many different places. Basically, it was my friend Draz, who you might know if you're in our Twitch community or our Discord, or maybe even in some of the old YouTube content as well. Basically, he took me out there as like a wedding gift. Basically, Nettie loves to travel and wants to go, exploring all different parts of the world, and I'm a little bit apprehensive about that. I think I get some kind of like form of anxiety when it comes to busy places or unfamiliar places. So he was trying to hope that the travel bug would bite me on this trip, and I would basically fall in love with going to places, and to an extent it has, which is really cool. So there is no rhyme or reason or order to any of these items. I just wanted to show you all of the stuff that I bought whilst I was out there, because if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I love things like anime, gaming, Japanese culture as a whole. So you guys wanted to see this stuff. I was going to do it as a second channel video, but sod it, why not? Let's put it on here. So this is all from different days and from different places. Some things I'll show together because they're still in the original bags, but a lot of it I unpacked yesterday when I was showing Nettie what I bought. So let's just get straight into it, okay? So first and foremost, one of my more fragile purchases that I made was this adorable little thing right here. I don't know if you can really make out the logo all that much, but basically it's from the Pokemon Center. So I went to the Pokemon Center over in, God, what was the area called? I can't remember what it was called. Basically, it's the biggest Pokemon Center, and essentially, I was a little bit disappointed by the store, just because they seem to have a lot of nice things, but not in the Pokemon that I wanted. And what was really odd, though, is that I couldn't find any trading cards there whatsoever. Like, obviously, I didn't expect to see a wall of like individual cards, like the collectible stores that you see around Japan. But I thought you could at least buy like boosters or a booster box, or I don't know, like a special starter deck or something. You know what I mean? But there was none, zilch, nothing. But this was one of my first purchases from the store, so I basically got this because I thought, you know what, I drink a lot of whiskey and a lot of Coke, so I thought I would get a cool little glass, and it's all the starter Pokemon. The camera's finally focused, but it's really, really nice. It's kind of got this sepia grading on it, and it's just really, really freaking cute. So there you go, purchase number one. Alright, next up, I think I have oh my god, I'm really bright. Okay, so next up, I think I have basically all of the reading material that I bought in Japan, and none of it I can actually read, so that's the thing. So first and foremost, obviously, recently there has been the brand new season of Sword Art Online begin, and it is the beginning of the alkalization arc, and basically, when I was out in one of the stores, I saw this bad boy. So basically, it's volume 2 of the manga. I don't know if, like, this is releasing in tandem with the show, or if it was previously, like, a novel, and then they're now making a manga to match up with it. I'm not entirely sure like the extent of it, but I saw volume 2 and I thought, you know what, just in case I don't see any more Sword Art stuff in some of the other stores, because there was a surprising lack of it from my opinion, I just thought I would grab that, which was pretty cool. And I think there is actually a little something extra inside of there. Is there another extra little thing? Because some of these manga I hid other presents inside of, but I think that might be everything for that one. Oh, now I think I know what this one is. Let me open this up real quick. So yep, okay, so this one I was more than excited about, and it was one of the cheapest things that I bought in Japan. This was literally 100 yen, and it is essentially from generation 1 of the Pokemon trading card game. It is a shiny Chansey. So when I was a little kid, Pokemon hadn't blown up yet. Pokemon wasn't even shown on TVs, nothing like that. I was in a game store and saw these trading cards and was like, I have no idea what they are, but I kind of want to buy them. Like, obviously, they've done the colours and the images, like, just right for kids. And I opened my first ever booster pack, and I took them to school, and I was like, hey, everybody, look at these. I don't know what they do, I don't know how you play it, but they're really cool, right? And everyone was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like, we all started buying them, and started basically playing what we thought were the rules of how to play this game. And then probably about 2-3 weeks later, suddenly the anime dropped in the UK, and just the games dropped, and it went nuts. Absolutely crazy. But I lost this card, the shiny card, a little while back between a house move. So I've just kind of wanted one ever since. And I've seen them on eBay and on Amazon and stuff like that, but they've always been very ridiculously priced. And I got this actually for 100 yen, which is basically £1, or probably less than that actually. It's probably about 70 pence. So rather than paying 20, 30 quid to get one, I got it for, 70p. So I was like, bargain. Oh, more reading material. So we got SAO Alkalization Part 1, which is all good. And then this one I was really excited about actually, because I had no idea what it was. So it's called One Piece Doors. And I was like, okay, is this some kind of like spin-off story? And it turns out what it actually is, okay, is, the beginning of each chapter of One Piece, there's like a little sort of like piece of art that kind of tells like a story that is actually happening in the world of One Piece, parallel to what the main storyline you're following is. So it's all canon and it's all part of the same world. But basically this book, so Doors 1 and Doors 2, because I grabbed that one as well, are basically just those covers. And granted, I can't read any of it, but I just thought that looks really nice, kind of a nice little collectible thing. Don't know if they're ever going to release it outside of Japan, so I thought I'd grab that one, and I got Doors number 2 as well. And then on that same note as well, I managed to pick up this bad boy. Now, this doesn't look very exciting to me initially, because basically this is the weekly Shonen Jump. Basically, in Japan, you can buy this thing for, I think, like 250 yen, which is about, what, like £2, maybe like £1.50, £1.70. And look how many pages there are. Like, this thing is normally a good 400 or 500 pages, loads of different manga published within this, and it's just a very cheap way of reading all of the current popular manga, and they release first inside of this. So the reason that I bought this initially was because I wanted a copy of Shonen Jump, and the first one that I bought actually didn't have any One Piece inside of it, because when I first went out to Japan, basically I was coming in on the latter end of the author of One Piece, Oda, his 2-week break, and I was like, oh my god, no, I'm not going to be able to get a copy of Shonen Jump with it in. But it turns out when I went to a certain One Piece store, it's called the Mugiwara store, I think. It's basically in Shibuya. Basically, that store had this in, which was basically the latest version of the Weekly Jump that contained a One Piece chapter. So they actually had like a backlog of them, which was really cool. So I grabbed that. But what I got really lucky with is that on the Monday that we were leaving, so the literal day that we were leaving, we were getting on a flight at like, I think 10 a.m. or oh no, 8 a.m. I think it was. I was like, oh god, I'm never going to get a copy of it. Turns out it published that morning and it's on newsstand right away. So this is literally this week's copy of Shonen Jump. It's obviously got Kaido, Luffy, Zoro on the front of it, and I couldn't be more excited about it. And what's interesting as well is how this is printed. Like, I don't know if you could tell from there, but I think Draz was saying that it's like heat printed. So apparently it's very easy to recycle, very easy to dispose of and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool, and just to have a physical copy of Shonen Jump is something that I've wanted for quite some time. Still on the reading note, we've got ourselves volume 1 of Assassination Classroom. So when I caught up with One Piece initially, I needed a new manga to move on to, and I saw this cover art on, in a store like, Forbidden Planet, and I was like, I have no idea what that is, but it looks cool, I'm gonna buy it. And now I think I'm about 10 volumes into that manga, and I thought having, just volume 1 of the Japanese version would be a nice little memento. Alright, more things to be had. What have we got next? I guess these won't make sense just immediately, but these are basically 2 frames. So basically, one of the big things you're going to see in a moment is that I bought a lot of jigsaw puzzles whilst I was out in Japan, because recently myself and Nettie have been doing tons of jigsaws because 1, they're really fun to do, 2, we get to spend time together doing it, and 3, we're not looking at a computer screen. That's kind of like the most vital part, I guess, other than spending time together, obviously. Don't tell her I said that. But no, yeah, so basically that is a relatively small frame, because I managed to find these things known as pocket puzzles, which it almost looks like a deck of cards, like the box of it, but it actually contains a 150-piece jigsaw inside of it. So we'll find those in a moment somewhere, but those are the frames for it, and they're like Ghibli themed. I got this as well because I am due to get myself a new case soon for traveling, and I'm probably going to have to get a generic black one, because a lot of the other ones I've seen on Amazon recently aren't that unique in their styling. So I thought if I get this from the Pokemon store, it's basically a band or a strap that you put around your bag, so it stands out a little bit. You got the name tag, you got the address, and it's actually a really practical thing. Oh, sorry, there is one more book that I got. There is one more manga. I have only read volume 1 of this, but everybody that I know loves it, whether they read the manga or watch the anime. But My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero, I think some people call it as well. I got volume 1 of that. We're kind of somewhat back in the Pokemon store, so I basically grabbed myself a woolly hat. It's kind of a shame that it's not a water type Pokemon that's on the label. It was Eevee. But obviously with the upcoming Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, the store was rammed with basically things of those two Pokemon. I was really hoping that there would be some more Ditto stuff, but there wasn't, unfortunately, so that was a thing. But there you go, woolly hat. Now this one I didn't actually buy. This is actually something that I won at, you know, the claw games in the arcade. This was the one and only victory that we had for the entire time that we were there, and it was just a little Kirby. And it looked like I wasn't going to get it. It's actually on my Instagram story, or the archive of it, but there you go. If you want to see how I won that, go have a little looky. Oh, dude, even just looking in this bag gets me excited again. So, retro games is something that I like to collect. I've got a Retron 5, which is a nice way of being able to play retro games. It's just like a little box that you can plug in, like Sega Mega Drive and Genesis games, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Regular, SNES, NES, N64, I think. Maybe N64 is wrong, but basically a lot of old cartridge games can fit into this box, and it goes into TV via HDMI. So I thought I would grab this bad boy. So basically Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I really tried to find a boxed copy of it, but nowhere had one. But it was the first game that I ever played as a kid. My first recollection of gaming at all was playing Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and playing Emerald Hill Zone about 30 times over. So to get a Japanese copy of that was quite nice for me. I quite liked that. Oh, this one was quite nice. So apparently this is canon. This green Totoro, you might have seen, oh, actually you can see regular Totoro there, and I do have the smaller blue and white ones as well, but I have never seen myself the green one, and it's an officially licensed item from Ghibli themselves. So when I started asking around about it, apparently a few years back at the Ghibli Museum, which we didn't get to go to unfortunately, because you have to book tickets crazy in advance, and our date for our trip kept changing, but it turns out that there was a small animation that you could only watch at the museum, and it actually contained this character. So the fact it's green, that's usually my colours, I thought I'd go and get it. As much as I say there wasn't much in the way of Dittos, this was one of the only things, and I can't really explain to you how it feels. It feels like a midway between like a ball of dough and then the usual stress ball material. It's a really strange one, but it's basically a little keychain, and of course, as you can see from the label there, it's basically styled around the Pokemon dolls that you get inside of the regular Pokemon games when you're doing, like, you know, your house building, or if you're giving them to your Pokemon to keep them happy. That's another thing. This is one of the weirder purchases I got, because I wanted something, anything, literally just one thing of Alolan Vulpix. So I managed to get this little thing. So I thought initially it might have been like a heat pack, like you warm it up or something, and then you put like the little perla beady bit from here on the sore spot, and you know, it just sort of sits there. But I think it's just made to just be a bit floppy. And all the other Alolan Vulpix things were really big, so like you could buy like just the head, and the head was like this big, or you could buy like an entire plushie which, you know, stood on your desk, is as big as my cat's. And I was like, don't really want that. I just wanted something small, so this is what I ended up with in the end, which is pretty cute. Kind of following the Jigsaw theme from before, I basically managed to grab these two. So you might have seen Nano Blocks before. I almost feel as though Nano Blocks might be like an American brand. I feel like it might be. Basically, they're like miniature Legos, and you can create various different things. So for me, I got myself Dragonite, because that was the Pokemon that I struggled to get the most when Pokemon Go first came out. It almost became a running joke that I hadn't got one yet, even though I played so much of the game. And then vice versa as well. For Nettie, she struggled to get a Snorlax for ages as well. So I got these. So again, much like all the other puzzles, we can play them in our own time. Oh, here we go. So this actually came from Tower Records, and I think the cover's actually scratched or cracked. Oh no, that's fine. It builds character. So you know by now that a lot of my channel branding and my like styling music and even my styling games that I prefer to play all stems from this Jet Set Radio Future soundtrack done by Hideki Naganuma. He himself actually tweeted me when I asked him. He actually replied to my tweet telling me where I could buy it in Japan, the soundtrack. So I went to this very well-known store in Shibuya called Tower Records. It's basically in the middle of a lot of the sort of music area. So bands play outside of it. It's a way to get noticed, this, that, and the other. And yeah, picked up the official soundtrack, which I thought was cool. So many little trinkets and things. That's a Snorlax keychain for Nettie. I'm sort of not showing off all the stuff I bought for her in case she wants to post it on, you know, Instagram and stuff. A little keychain, because if you don't know, whenever I go away to a country, I collect keychains for my mum. So basically, she's not managed to travel to many places. And someday when I can afford it, I will take her to some really cool places to give her those life experiences. But she sort of lives vicariously vicariously through me at the minute with keychains. So grabbed one of those, which was nice. Oh, another retro game. So on the topic of Pokemon, didn't get this from the Pokemon store, but I got it from the same place as the Sonic 2 game. I managed to get a copy, an original copy, with a refurbished battery as well, so it will actually work, of Pokemon Green. So Pokemon Green never released in the UK. We basically got red and blue as opposed to red and green. So to actually see a copy of it in person, one was really cool, and it's just not going to focus. But yeah, there you go. I managed to get an original copy of that, which was good. Other than that, I've got some little pins as well, themed around the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. So this one, I can't really make it out, but it says 2 years to go. So that one I feel will be a bit of a collector's item. And there were a couple more of them inside of here as well, which are more just generic themes. So the mascots and the logo and stuff like that. I grabbed these bad boys as well. So I've got some chopsticks. So they're Eevee. I don't know if you can make it out on the screen right now, but they are somewhat transparent or translucent, whichever word it is. But there you go, Eevee chopsticks. All right, this is where the mountain of jigsaws and playing cards begins. I hope you're ready. So, first and foremost, let's go through these. So, the pocket puzzles that I mentioned earlier on. First one I got was Kiki's Delivery Service. Hopefully you can kind of make that out. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And then also we have Ponyo as well, because Ponyo is the only Ghibli movie that Nettie has seen. So, to have a puzzle themed around that, I thought would be quite nice, which is good. Other than that, I basically picked up a load of playing cards as well, because, you know, whenever we go out for dinners or lunches or whatever else, whilst we're waiting for food to come out, it's not it's not weird to see myself and Nettie playing cards, and we do it with friends and everything else like that. It's just something that we do a lot. So I got a generic like sushi deck, just as the one that we will actually play with, and then more sort of kind of as a you know, sort of display or shelf piece. I managed to get 3 decks of cards, which were for Ponyo, Spirited Away, and also My Neighbor Totoro as well. So I'm sure at some point we will actually play with them, but for now they're just quite nice to look at, and they all seem to come with like a somewhat sturdy plastic case as well. But yeah, there we go, that's that one. And then either for my own keychain or maybe even another one for my mum as well is a little Totoro kind of like keychain. So the sort of sat on like a little bug, there's a little soot sprite, and it's got the blue and the white Totoros, and yeah, I thought that was kind of cute. So that's that one. And then we are kind of getting near towards the end now, which is pretty good. So I basically got like 3 major jigsaws left to show you, and then that's basically everything. So we have got these right here. So we have got, first and foremost, a really big 1,000 piece jigsaw of Kiki's Delivery Service. It's my favourite Ghibli movie. We've named a cat after it. And yeah, this one particularly I thought was nice, because there's so much variation in the colour that even though it's 1,000 pieces, I don't think it will take like days or weeks in order to finish it. So that's quite cool. And then whilst I was out there as well, there was the release of the first trailer of Aladdin for the live action movie, where Will Smith's going to be Genie and all this sort of stuff. So that had me quite excited. And when I saw this puzzle, I was like, one, it looks really cool. It looks almost like stained glass that you would get in kind of religious places. But basically, it's an Aladdin jigsaw, which just has like every character, like every moment. It just looks absolutely absurd. And again, 1,000 pieces, but so colourful and so all over the place that I think it will be relatively easy to do. So that's that one. Oh my god, caught my nose. And then the final jigsaw, and sort of rounds out the jigsaw route, is this one. So like I said, there really wasn't very much in the Pokemon store that I wanted to buy. So this was kind of like a last minute panic purchase. So I had something that I could be like, okay, I'll actually get some use out of that in the future. So there you go, 300 piece jigsaw, and it's basically themed around Pokemon Quest, if you remember that game from the Nintendo Switch. The reason I stopped playing that on the channel, by the way, is because I hit the wall. I hit that wall where it's basically you either have to spend money to get through or spend a lot of time, and neither of them were, you know, viable for me making content, because the videos weren't making that much money. So yeah, purely from a business standpoint, that's why I stopped that series. I've been playing it a little bit in my own time on my Switch, but beyond that, that's kind of the main reason for it. So that's that one. And then we move on to my giant final piece, and the reason I say giant is because it's quite literally the size of one half of my suitcase. So you can imagine how much Tetris I had to play in order to get this thing home. So to give you a little bit of context, there is this place in Japan called Tokyo Tower. It looks like a red Eiffel Tower but smaller, I guess, and you can go inside of it, and there's restaurants and, you know, sort of viewing points and all that sort of stuff. But the real cool thing inside of there is actually that there is a giant one-piece music museum / live show / store / everything. Like, there's all sorts of stuff. And what's really crazy about this is that I actually got to go there with Nina and Mark from the Yogscast. So you'll probably know of them through doing high rollers or doing artwork and stuff like that, or even just seeing them in my videos on occasion. But we'd always tried to go to Japan together, and specifically to go to the One Piece things, like to go and, like, you know, geek out about it, because that's kind of one of the passions that we share, is our love for this show / manga. So the fact that we happened to be in Japan at the same time as them meant that the four of us went there together. We saw the live show, we got to see loads of original artwork and stuff like that, and then they had like little things, like, so they had like Brooks' haunted house, or they had Nami's casino and all this other sort of stuff. It was really cool. I can't express to you how good it is. I'm sure there are plenty of YouTube videos about it, but basically when I was here, I made my most expensive, but I think my most precious purchase. I mean, just, it doesn't even fit in the camera frame. Let me move it back. There we go. This thing is absolutely ridiculously huge, but let me give you a little bit of context to this. So, like I mentioned, there's a live show at the Tokyo Tower, there's the museum pieces and all that sort of stuff, but then there is also a very special 10-minute episode, similarly to the Ghibli Museum, I guess. It's basically a short film or a short episode, which you can only watch at that venue, and basically, there is a special piece of artwork that correlates with that. It's kind of like the poster of it, I guess, and you can actually buy it in a frame, and it looks really nice, and it just kind of encapsulates my entire Japan trip, or at least for me it does. So it was relatively expensive, but if it's something that I'm always going to have up in my home or in my office, every time I look at it, I'm going to think about this trip to Japan, and particularly this night as well. So it's slightly covered over on the bottom corner, but hopefully if the ring light's not going to invade too much, you can see there that this is just a beautifully done art piece. It's just so cool. So you can see Tokyo Tower in the top there as well, and what's interesting is actually in the short film, Tokyo Tower is actually on the island. So there's this very small island, there's Tokyo Tower there, and they've been told by Trafalgar Law to go there because there's a secret treasure, and I won't say much else about what happens because I'm sure it's online somewhere, but basically it all kicks off on this one island. So it's just, it's so good. And even little details like you can see Frankie's hair just there is actually, you know, is actually shaped in the style of Tokyo Tower. So yeah, so there we go. That is like my one big ridiculous splurgy purchase, but I just think it's incredible. And the fact it's going to be, you know, not able to be purchased outside of Tokyo Tower, the fact that that evening was so special, the fact that that whole trip was incredible, I just think it's a really cool piece, and I really enjoyed buying it and like looking at it, and the whole thing, just everything was fantastic. It really was. So like I said, go to my Instagram, have a look at those archive stories. There's over 100 posts of things I got up to whilst I was there. We went to like, you know, ridiculous like stores filled with anime and manga and gaming and all sorts of stuff. We went up a mountain and we managed to see Mount Fuji from the peak. We went to an onsen, which was kind of one of those like hot baths, so I got to experience that kind of side of things. And then we just went to like the Tokyo Robot Show, and all sorts of stuff. Not the cafe, by the way. It wasn't that weird cafe / restaurant where the robots walk down the middle. There was actually like a proper world summit about robotics that just happened to be on whilst we were there, so that was really cool. But yeah, honestly, there's so much stuff that went down whilst I was there. Thank you to everybody that's been really patient and waiting for me to get back so I can continue on with my streams and stuff. But that is everything that I bought in Tokyo, Japan. I very much plan to go there again at some point in the future. But yeah, there you go. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. In the comment section below, let me know if you have any questions about my trip, or if you want any advice on stuff, because the amount of information that Draz imparted on me whilst we were there, as well as what I've experienced with myself, I feel like for at least Tokyo itself, I can probably give you a couple of pointers of things to do and places to go now, so that's all good. But thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video if you watched this far. If you want to see more stuff like this, then let me know, and I can be more mindful about, you know, doing hauls and stuff like that on my other trips abroad. And yeah, have a good one, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.